Back with Barren Victory. This is the 1530 turn and the Union phase of that turn. Before I start that, there's a couple things from the previous video I should fix. One is that Stewart, this stack here with Leader Stewart and two of the three brigades of his division, this stack was a mess at the end of the previous video. There were like extra, somehow counters got duplicated either because of me or because of a saving error after I saved the scenario. I'm not sure, but anyways, between videos, I got everything straightened out here to the way it should be. One of the things I didn't do was that in the Civil War Brigade Series, all combat units in a stack have to be facing in the same direction, and I didn't have that. So that's one of the things I fixed between videos is I fixed that. So now all the combat units in this stack have these as their frontal hex sides, and that is allowed by the rules. One of the situations in the game where you're allowed to change facing is at the end of a retreat due to a morale result, which is what caused these two brigades to retreat. So I got everything fixed there. And then the other thing that I will fix now that I think I should have done the previous turn is that I noticed as I was mentally getting ready for this video that there was a bloodlust counter still on Barnes's brigade. And I believe as part of the rally phase, if a counter with if a infantry unit with a bloodlust counter is not adjacent to an enemy unit, then the bloodlust counter comes off. So it actually should have come off during the rally phase of the previous Union turn. So I'm just going to remove that now, and that's no longer there. And one of the things we'll do this turn is start to address the low ammo situation for this unit, and we'll also be able to start the straggler recovery process here. You may remember that Barnes is almost wrecked, but a lot of their losses are not permanent losses; they're stragglers, and so we'll start to recover. Barnes, at least the process of recovering stragglers for Barnes's brigade. But let's go to our sequence of play. First part is issuing new orders. Right now, Van Cleve's division has orders. Reynolds is ordered to defend in place. Davis is ordered to defend in place. Wilders is a free agent. We as Rosencrantz can have him do anything we want without going through the order process. And both the 20th Corps and the 21st Corps they have orders in delay status, so we'll need to roll on those. And also Negley has orders that are in delay status. Remember in the previous Union turn we ordered Negley to essentially to take over the defense of this area of the field, and so that Van Cleve's division could support Reynolds' right flank and possibly allow Reynolds to move a bit south here. I don't think there are any new orders that we want to issue. Now, of course, we could start issuing orders for Reynolds or Davis to actually advance on the enemy. But the thing to remember about doing that is you essentially leave your artillery behind when you do that, because if I were to say march Davis's division up this road, what I would not be allowed to do is, when I got there, is I could bring my artillery into this hex, but I would not be, I would have to be limbered to move along the road, but then I would not be able to unlimber it in this hex because it's within an enemy zone of control. This is one of the frontal hex sides this is one of the frontal hex sides of Fulton's brigade here. So in essence, by going up here and engaging a fight here, I'd be giving up, I as Davis would be giving up my artillery advantage. And so that's why, and the same goes for Reynolds. Reynolds has 5 artillery strength points here. That's very powerful. If I send Reynolds forward, either up here or in this direction, I essentially forego the use of my artillery in any offensive actions I would take. It's hard in this series of games, and I think hard in general. I think this is also true of the great battles of the American Civil War series. It's hard to get your artillery involved in like close, like face-to-face combat as the attacking unit. So that's why my inclination here has been, and will continue to be, to not, from my perspective, unnecessarily push these Union units into battle because they're doing what I ultimately want them to do, which is to hold the Union center and to hold the Lafayette Road. And if I just leave them here, then when the time comes where they're actually engaged, they get to use their artillery. So I'm not going to issue any new orders at this time as Rosecrans. Let me zoom out. So no new orders. Corps stoppage, not an issue. Initiative order determination. Again, now I could, instead of like issue, I could conceivably, and I think plausibly, have Reynolds roll for initiative to, maybe join in the fight here because, there is combat close to him, and there is a kind of tendency, certainly in this battle, for units to, for like brigade leaders and division leaders to say, well, there's the enemy, let's go attack him. Or I hear fighting ahead, let's join. But I think that would not be a smart thing for me to do as the Union overall commander, because remember, I don't know what the axis of advance is going to be for the Confederate units when they come. Historically, several of these brigades actually did move right in the direction where Reynolds is right now. And if I, change my facing and go up to engage Clayton's brigade here, then I'm basically leaving myself open to an attack by the Confederacy if it comes along this axis. Now, of course, we know as solo players that that's not where it's going to go, but of course it wouldn't be right for me to play the game that way as a Union player with knowledge of what the Confederate orders are. So I'm not inclined to issue initiative to have Reynolds try for initiative, say, to attack Clayton's brigade up here. Delay reduction. Now we've got several orders in delay reduction, so we're going to roll on those. Let me pull up my Union order chart. So Rosecrans's orders to 21st Corps are in D1 status, so we're looking for a roll of 1 or 2 on a 1d6. So I'll roll as I've done before, I'll roll on this suite of dice here, this ensemble of dice here, but we'll be paying attention to the result on the blue dice. And we got a 3, not a 1 or 2, so that one stays in delay. Now we'll roll on the order to 20th Corps. That's in D2 status, so we need a 1 on a 1d6. Nope. Our in-person order to Negley is in D1 status, so that would be we need a 1 or a 2 to implement that order. A 1. Whoa. Action. So, Negley's order is accepted. Accepted at 15:30. So now Negley, during the movement phase, will start to implement this order. And so now we've rolled on all the orders that are in delay. Now we want to do new order acceptance, and that's our order to Van Cleve. Basically, our order to Van Cleve to summarizing, to give way once Negley arrives. So now we'll so let's go to our acceptance table. So Negley is a 1, Rosencrantz is a 1, so that gives us a 2 here. It's an in-person order, so that's a +2, so we're at 4. And it's a complex order, so subtract 2, so that puts us on this column. And notice that I think this is the best column from the standpoint of order acceptance that we've rolled on so far during this playthrough. So we're going to roll a 2d6 here and see where we fall on here. And we rolled an 8, so that's D1. So our order to Van Cleve is in delay 1 status. All right, and we'll have to roll on those in subsequent turns. Roll for delay status on subsequent turns. All right, so we're done with our command phase. Now we go to the movement and close combat phase. So the first step here is straggler recovery marker placement. Units in this game can recover stragglers if when we reach the straggler recovery phase, they can recover stragglers if, first of all, we've placed a straggler recovery marker on it, and the point of doing that is, well, I'll finish my thought in a second. And then the other thing is they can successfully recover stragglers if at that time the unit is at least 4 hexes away from any enemy unit. And right now that condition is met. The point of placing the recovery straggler is if at any point, it won't happen because we're in the because all this is going to happen within 1 turn, so the Union won't have an advance. But if, say, I placed a straggler recovery marker during the previous turn, and then the Union were able to get less than 4 hexes away, even if they had to retreat later in the turn, that straggler recovery marker would come off, I believe. And so now again, we're going to do everything within 1 turn, but we'll place the marker right now, and then I don't see any opportunities for a Confederate unit to approach here, and so then we will be able to start doing straggler recovery during the rally phase of this turn. So let's place our straggler recovery marker. That must be army specific. I didn't think it was. Is it this one? Nope. Fired. No. Oh, it's this one. There we go. So we'll put a straggler recovery marker there. And now we're at the movement and close combat phase. I think the main area we'll want to consider movement by the Union is obviously in this area here where Van Cleve and Stewart's divisions are engaged with each other. And I think there's two basic ways we could approach this as Van Cleve. One is that, well, I just thought of a wrinkle I hadn't thought of before. But anyways, one is that we could, for the moment, advance remember, the unit in here is an extension of Beatty's brigade. We could advance that extension here, and then notice we would have a flanking shot on Clayton. That would be the aggressive move. The downside of that would be, one, is that we couldn't take our artillery with us. Well, actually, we could if we had enough movement points, but we don't. Right now, the artillery is unlimbered. Obviously, it's in firing position, so it would it would start the movement phase with 7 movement points. It would spend 3 to limber, 4, 5, 6, 7 to get in this hex, and that would be permitted because this is not a frontal hex side of Clayton's brigade, so I would be allowed to unlimber here, but I wouldn't have enough movement points to unlimber here, at least not this turn. And that, and this hex is not likely to stay out of a Union zone of control when they move. So I could move the artillery here, but I wouldn't be able to unlimber it, and I wouldn't have a very good chance of being able to unlimber it in a future turn. So in essence, if I did take my extension of Beatty's division here into this hex to get a flank shot on here, along with an attack from this hex, of course, as well, I'd be leaving my artillery behind. And then the other thing is, obviously, I could bring the Confederacy could bring a lot of firepower onto that extension pretty simply. This unit would be allowed to change facing, although it then would be presenting a flanking its flank to Reynolds. That would be particularly dangerous. But this unit could change facing. These two units could move up and put a lot of firepower on that. So moving here would be the aggressive but dangerous move. I think a sounder move for the Union here, and again I realize I'm playing the Union side pretty conservatively here, but again I think I've mentioned in previous videos, the way I'm playing the Union player, their goal is really to hold the Lafayette Road at least until they get all their units up to the main part of the battle. And then once that happens, I think the Union will be in a good position to start potentially taking some offensive action to try to drive these units away from the Lafayette Road, and if they have a really good day, possibly even from the field. But I think right now I just want to hold this portion of the Lafayette Road until I can get my units north, and until Negley can make his way up here. So I think I'm going to do a conservative move, and I'm just going to pull Van Cleve off for a second. The thing I thought of before, just now, that I hadn't thought of before, is that I do need to. Let me see. I'm going to check the straggler recovery rules to see if a unit can move and still be eligible for straggler recovery. Just one moment. Yes, it says here, once I've placed straggler recovery markers, um, if the unit moves, then I lose the straggler recovery marker, and then at that point in the rally phase, then if that happens, then the unit would not be allowed to recover stragglers, even if it was still 4 hexes away from an enemy unit. And right now, Barnes is at the farthest he's 4 leader movement points away from Van Cleve. So if Van Cleve moves up here, which is what I was going to have him do, then that would put Barnes out of command radius. And I think that's another condition of straggler recovery, is that they have to be in command radius. So let me just verify that. Yeah, it must be a normal command radius. Oh, wait. The unit must be within normal command radius, or that part of it available at the time the unit is marked. Oh, in the case where the core HQ is not yet on the map, so that doesn't apply. So it would have to be a normal command radius. So long story short, if I want Barnes here to recover stragglers in the next turn, I would have to leave Van Cleve here. And I'm not allowed. And Van Cleve division. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but divisional leaders have to stack with one of their brigades. So even I think if they're under, although Van Cleve does have a divisional goal. Let me, I think I might have found a loophole here. Let me check the rules on divisional goals. Not seeing anything. A unit following divisional goals is exempt from normal command radius. Command radius, distance to core HQ for divisions, distance to division commander for cavalry brigades. Let me just check one more thing check the general command radius rules here. Not seeing those in the table of contents. I thought there might be a rule saying that if a division is operating under divisional orders, then its divisional leader does not have to stack with one of its divisions. It can function more like a core HQ would. I realize this is not exciting video. Well, I'm not seeing it right away. I do think there is something in the rules that says that if a division is not operating, if a division is operating under divisional goals, then the divisional leader functions more like an HQ for the division and does not have to, can, but does not have to stack with one of its units, with one of its brigades. So I'm going to do it that way, and obviously I'll have to make some fixes if in a later video if I find out that that's not true. So I'm going to leave Van Cleve in this hex, and I'm going to move, let's see, well, first let me deal with the artillery here first. So we're going to unlimber for 3, move into 1 clear hex for 4. Whoops, and let me just put the counter there. And then unlimber for 3 more, hitting its maximum 7. And we've done that. And then we'll move put the B here, the extended line here, and then we're going to leave Van Cleve in this hex. But again, this is only because Van Cleve is operating under divisional goals. So for instance, Davis is not operating under divisional goals. Really, well, I mean, that's something I'll have to think about after I finish this video. I'm going to do it this way for now. If anything, just to allow me at the end of this video to demonstrate the straggler recovery process. And then, now what do I do with this, with Dick's division here? I definitely have enough movement points for Dick to move into this hex, but there aren't enough, the artillery in this hex doesn't have enough movement points it can get up here, but then again, but it would not be allowed to unlimber. It would unlimber for 3, spend 2 points to go into this hex, 1 for the clear, 1 for the stream, so that's 5. Spend a 6 point here and have 1 movement point remaining, and that's not enough to unlimber. And then again, if one of these 2 brigades were to move into this hex, that would throw a zone of, assuming that the facing is what you'd expect it to be, then that would throw a zone of control into this hex, and then the artillery, the Union artillery in this hex would continue to not be able to unlimber. So I think what I'm going to do, and this is actually something I've done before, and when I've played games in this series, is what you do is you move your Okay, so I'm going to move put the brigade here, and then what you do, if you're an experienced Civil War gamer, you probably know about this idea already, then what you do is, let's see, so 3, so limber for 3, move here is 5. So I don't have enough movement points to unlimber in this turn. But assuming that my units can hold the line here, then the next turn I'll be able to unlimber this artillery, and then if I have to retreat into this hex, then they'll be retreating into a hex with unlimbered artillery ready to contribute in the defense. So I think this is the best setup I can achieve for Van Cleve's division in this turn, at least the best defensive setup I can achieve. So I've got 3 artillery strength points in these 2 hexes, unlimbered and ready to fire, and then 2 more back here. So that's Van Cleve's division, and no one, really the only other units I could move would be Wilder's brigade here, because remember again, it can move, I as the Union player can move Wilder's brigade essentially as I want to without going through the standard orders process. So now I could move Wilder's brigade forward here, and maybe deploy down here, deploy down here. Just as a person playing a solo game here, I worry a little bit that that decision might be tainted by the fact that I know that the order that Hood is trying to implement up here is to deploy his artillery here. And, of course, if I were to move my Wilder's brigade up here, then I would be interfering in that because it wouldn't be able to unlimber in like these hexes where it would want to unlimber. So I think just in the interest of having a good video and sort of fair gameplay, I will not do that. And that's it for the movement phase. Fire combat. So there is going to be some fire combat up here. Namely between these two brigades here. They're both eligible to fire at each other. No one else has line of sight to anyone else. Like these two units don't have line of sight because these are both wood hexes. So that would suffice to block line of sight in both directions, and same goes for up here. So first, Clayton can fire at A level against Beatty. And let's see, Beatty is B morale. So we'll roll our dice. Not too bad. So that's so A fire level at range 1 is 4. And we rolled a 9, so we're on this column here. We rolled a 9, so that's a 1. So the rounding dice is irrelevant. So 1 permanent loss. And look, and we rolled a 5 for the straggler roll. So we're on this chart here because the base loss was 1. B morale, a 5 is 1. So 1 loss, 1 straggler for Beatty. And that could cause a problem for Van Cleve's defense. Let's look at the loss chart here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Wait a minute. That's Beatty. That's right. Okay. Let me just check something here. B. Oh, I do have B's under both. So both of each half of Beatty's brigade here has B fire level, corresponding to the fact that Beatty on the loss chart is down to A fire level. Okay, so I did that right. Good. It's always good to see after the fact that you didn't mess it up. So we'll move this straggler here so we can put our 1 permanent loss to the left. And then we'll add a straggler here. So Beatty's brigade is 1 loss away from being wrecked. And again, once a unit is wrecked, that makes it's a lot more susceptible to retreats and morale effects based on the morale rolls on the morale table. Now the last thing we have to do is check the morale table for that fire. So we're at B, and something I should have been doing before but I wasn't, was that I mentioned before that when the defending unit is stacked with artillery, it ignores the result, the retreat results of these two. If the morale roll ends up on one of these two columns, it does suffer the shaken or disorganized, but it ignores the retreat element of the result. However, I neglected to do something else. And in addition to that, if a unit, this is the defending unit, is stacked with unlimited artillery, then you also go one level up on the morale table when checking morale. So Beatty is starting with B level, and he's not shaken or anything, right? No. So we'll start with B, go one level up, and then check a 5-2 result, and that falls in the no effect. If we hadn't gone up the one level, notice a 5-2 result just on the straight B row would put a shaken marker here, which wouldn't be the end of the world because the shaken marker would come off in the Union rally phase later in the turn. A unique feature of this game is that morale, like a shaken marker, if you as the attacker, the phasing player, get a morale result like a shaken, it automatically comes off right away at the end of the turn. And if you get a disorganized marker, then that automatically downgrades to shaken at the end of during your rally phase at the end of your turn. However, if as the defending unit, now for instance, if Clayton here suffers a morale result, it will carry that morale result over into its phase in the following turn, because only at the end of this turn only the Union will rally, the Confederate side won't rally, and of course vice versa when it's the Confederate phase. So long story short, these morale results here are worse. In a sense, they're worse if you get them as a defender of an attack. Well, it's worse if you get them as the non-phasing player than if you do as the phasing player, for the reason I just said. So something to keep in mind. But here it's a no effect. So that element of the fire, so the non-phasing fire is done. Now Beatty gets to fire on Clayton with B level fire and 1 strength point of artillery. Now that may not sound like much, but it's still a morale. You still get to make that morale roll, and that can still result in a retreat result, and make the offensive phase of the make Stuart's offensive. Throw off Stuart's offensive plans in the following turn. So we'll do our combat roll. Ooh, that could be bad. Let's see. Clayton has C morale, if I remember right. Yep, it doesn't look good. The Union are getting good morale results on the Confederacy here. So B level at range 1 is 2, and then 1 gun point at range 1 is 1. So we're on this 3 column here. So rolled a 6. So that's a half. We're rounding up, so that's 1 permanent loss. And then the straggler roll is a 5. So we're on this chart here. C5 is 1. So Clayton suffers 1 permanent loss and 1 straggler. So move that there. And that puts Clayton down to A fire level. So we will remove the AB marker here. Remembering, of course, that there is no strength marker on an infantry unit, then it's A fire level. That's the default. Now finally we roll on the morale, and this is probably not going to be good. So sea level morale. I'm just going to take a careful, let's see. They're not shaken or anything, are they? No. Don't have artillery. No. So we're just roll on straight C row 56, shaken and back one. So we'll be able to see an example of what I was just talking about. And back one. Which is, again, during the rally phase, the unit, the Union side will be able to remove its shaken markers, but the Confederate player won't be able to. So the Confederate player will start its turn with shaken markers on all three of the brigades in Stuart's division. So that's the only fire combat that we're eligible to perform. So we're done with fire combat. By both sides. So now we're at the rally phase. So now let's do straggler recovery. And I probably should have reviewed those rules before I went through this. But I don't think it's complicated. So we roll one die for each marked brigade. That is, each brigade marked with a straggler recovery counter. We pick the row based on the base morale level. So D, not good. So it's going to be hard to recover stragglers with this unit, actually, given that its base morale is so low, a D. So I need to roll a 5 or a 6 on a 1d6 to recover one straggler. So let's go ahead and do that. And again, I'm going to roll the ensemble of combat dice, but just focus on the blue dice. And I rolled a 2. That's 0 strength points recovered. So I'm not allowed to recover any stragglers. Now we're in the rally phase, and so that would at this point make me eligible to remove any shaken markers that persist anywhere. There aren't any. Okay. Oh, we didn't do ammo. So during the movement phase, what I do is, here, let's go back to our sequence of play. During the movement phase, so what you do to recover low ammo is, I won't go into all the details, but basically you have an eligible supply train counter has to move within 2 hexes of the unit that needs to be resupplied. And the counter that's eligible here is the Army of the Cumberland. This is eligible for any unit in the Army. So what I'm going to do is again, we're kind of reverting back to the movement phase here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I forget how many movement points it's eligible for, but it's certainly, that's not even 3 movement points because we're on a road here. Now I'm within 2, and now looking after the movement and close combat phase. See, this is why you have to go through your sequence. You can't go through your sequence of play too rigorously. I just skipped over the ammo resupply segment in the movement and close combat phase. Now I'm in the ammo resupply phase, and that allows me to remove that low ammo marker. Whoops, just want to delete it. So now Barnes's brigade has 1 less woe. It's no longer low ammo. It's been resupplied with ammo. And again, there's no rallying for the Union to be done, and so we're just check one more time to practice what I just preached. We're done with straggler recovery. We're done with rally. So we're done with the 1530 turn. I'll end the video here, and so the next video will be the 1600 turn, and we'll do the Confederate portion of the turn. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.